Welcome to Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Folks, it is one of our Q&A episodes. JJ is back in our new studio, and he's going to ask me some questions that we got from our Instagram account that are always coming up every single week that we put the Q&A box in on a Saturday. I make a note of them, I write them down, I send them to JJ, and he comes in and we discuss them in studio where we have a little bit more time to talk about the questions and the answers and do a bit more of a deep dive into what you need to know. How's it going, JJ?
Well, what's the crack?
How's your new seat?
Very comfortable, and the new studio is very fancy looking.
Isn't it lovely?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Spot on.
Yeah.
So I will jump in. I really like this one because it's just back to basics from Amy. So this is one from your Instagram account, and it says, I'm a total weights beginner, but I'm intimidated by all the numbers involved. Can you break down what's a set, what's a rep, and how many I should be doing of each?
This is a really popular question. We get this like every week we probably get 50 or 60 of these. Where do I start? What do I do? I'm really confused by it. I'm scared by it. I'm too old. I'm whatever. Okay, first and foremost, weights is really important. We've got better as a society. Like when we do corporate work in a room, it'd be kind of 1 in 10 would lift weights. Now it's about 2 to 3 in 10. So it's really getting better, which is great. It's important because as we get older, we lose muscle mass. You're young, I'm a bit older. I can see it myself now. When I was sick, I was in hospital over the course of, say, the 3 or 4 weeks recovery where I could do nothing afterwards. I got weaker. It was frightening and fascinating at the same time. So we lose muscle mass and we need to do weights to keep our muscle mass. That is important. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is a weight can be you as a body weight. We're all weights ourselves. Or you go to a gym and you lift weights. Doesn't really matter. Unless you're a high-performance powerlifter or a high-rocks athlete or something like that. General population, it doesn't really matter what you do once you do it. How often a week should you do it? Minimum once, depending on how strong you want to get. So we would have clients who I would see 2 or 3 times a week. Most people I see once. It's all they need to see them. They'll walk on top of that or run or surf or whatever they like to do. But they'll build it up at one really good strength session each week. So that's the minimum you need to do. You don't have to do 4 or 5. 1 is absolutely perfect. You start slow and you build it up. That's important. You start with 1 set. So a set is a number of repetitions. A repetition is how many times you do the exercise. If I said do 10 press-ups there, 10 is the rep number. So that's how many reps you do. You do 10 press-ups. And if I said do 3 sets of that, so you do 10 3 times. And that's a rep and that's a set. And it's as simple as that. It scares people because it's a kind of different language. But that's what it is. So you start with 1 set of a batch of exercises. Ideally a full body workout for most people. So maybe 1 or 2 upper body exercises, 1 or 2 lower body exercises, and 1 or 2 core exercises. It would be a very basic workout. You do 1 set of, say, 15 repetitions, and that's it for the first day. See how you feel after it, because you might be sore. So we're trying to reduce the soreness. And then as you get stronger, you do 2 sets, 3 sets, 4. You could do 4. You can do as many sets as you want. The other way you can structure the workout is timed sets.
Cool.
So it's 60 seconds of how many you can do in a 60-second time frame, as opposed to like a rep in 10 or 15. You do as many as you can. And that's the other way you can structure it. After you have done your weights, you have torn your muscle fibers very minutely. That's what happens in a weights session. They grow back together, firmer and tighter. In the meantime, or in the process of that, there might be some DOMS or pain. And we try to minimize that by easing you into it. If you go and do a really hard boot camp, you'll be really sore, and that could last 3 or 4
DOMS
days.
just for the listener?
Yeah, delayed onset muscle soreness. So what typically happens is 1 day later, I'm a bit tender. 2 days later, you're in bits. So it takes 2 days for it fully to kick in, which often surprises people. So like a new client comes into me, I'll always text them after the first day, like, I'm grand. And then by like 6 that evening, I'm getting a bit sore now. And then by the next day, they're kind of quite sore. So that's what that is. It's very normal. You haven't torn anything. You haven't hurt anything. It's normal. You have muscle fibers. You put them under duress. They're growing back together. And there's a little bit of kind of swelling and pain associated with that.
Just with the 2 questions following on from that. Length, if you're a complete beginner like Amy is here, how long should you aim to be in the gym for?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it depends on the person. It could be anything from it could be a 5-minute workout.
Right.
It could be a 25-minute workout. It could be a 55-minute workout. There's no gold standard. I would see people personally for 45-minute sessions. That's it. We do enough in 45 minutes to cover everything. But you can cut that to half an hour. You can cut that to 20 minutes. You can break that up in 5 minutes, 5 times over the day. The body doesn't. The funny thing is, the body doesn't care.
Mm.
Once you move it and put it under some kind of pressure with weight, it's pretty happy.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to change.
It has to.
Yeah.
You're forcing it to adapt, right? It's like sitting or standing, stairs versus the lift. You're forcing the body to continually stay stronger. And from your mid-30s, you just start getting weaker, and all of a sudden the stairs becomes hard, or lifting things becomes difficult because the body is just sedentary, and that's why weight training is so important. Whether it is using yourself as that weight or the gym, doesn't really matter. But that's weight training SOS, very simply. And like, my Instagram is a handy place to go. I've reels up all the time for workouts and stuff. People can check it out. But it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be the gym. It doesn't have to be kind of hardcore boot camp. They're back in fashion again, which are great if you like that. Most people don't, if they're honest. So find a version of that you like.
Right.
And we're seeing lots of, for the older age group, we're seeing lots of older exercise classes specifically for older people at the moment, going around the country. And that's really starting to develop now. And that's brilliant. Like, can you lift a bag of logs? If you can't, that's a problem. So you go to these classes to be stronger for life. They're brilliant, and you'll find them locally to go to. It's really important to do it. So weight training is good for the bones, good for the joints, good for the muscles, good for everything. If you are sore or you have a concern, you go if you're in a gym, you get service. You ask the instructor. If they don't know what they're talking about, you go to a physio, get a physio MOT. Or if you are thinking of starting, getting a physio MOT is no harm. It's like your GP appointment. You just go to a physio for the crack and just get them to check you out. It's like an NCT for the car.
Yeah, and you have a sense of like, okay, you know, I'm cleared hot to do it.
Yeah, and it just puts your mind at ease. You're like, you know what? Yeah, okay, I've checked myself out now. And the same with the GP. If you are concerned about blood pressure, about anything from the medical perspective, you know, you should go to your GP once a year regardless. You should get your bloods done once a year regardless. Check everything. At least then you know about it, you can see it, and but you can also have the clearance and the confidence to do some exercise if you want.
And I have this final question, just in terms of people moving on to weights, assessing when they go from body weight maybe to actual weights, dumbbells, assessing what's the right weight for you to
great
start.
question. Yeah. So you pick a weight where on the last 2 repetitions, so say if I say do 15 bicep curls, the last 2 should be hard. And you choose the weight that you struggle with in the last 2 or 3 reps. You can still do it, but it's tough.
Okay.
If you're getting through and there's it's like, it's grand, a bit easy. You have to put the body under pressure. And if you're on like the 4th rep and you can't do it and you keep going, you're gonna hurt your back. You're gonna hurt your something or other. So therefore, you adjust the weight where you're struggling on the last 2 to 3 repetitions of that movement, and whatever that is, you can adjust the weight relative to that. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, next one is, this is a really interesting one from Fiona, and I can relate. This is, I have these grand plans for the gym when it comes to working out after work. But what happens too often is that I get home, I say to myself, I'll just sit and watch a few videos on my phone for 10 minutes, and then I inevitably don't go to the gym. Should I aim to go to the gym in the morning, or be more disciplined and just go in the evening? Or am I just lazy? Any help would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Well, again, we get these a lot. Lazy, you're not. No. You're overwhelmed and overworked and just exhausted, chances are. So the handy thing there is, there's a couple of things. Getting it done in the morning is handy because it's done. It's out of the way. No matter what happens in your day, it's done. It's done.
Are you a morning worker, outer, or in the...
I can be. As I've gotten older, I have to be, because my energy tends to run out towards like a half 8, kids are in bed. You come down and you're like, you can barely put string a sentence together. So I tend to get it done earlier in the day. I do, yeah. In the morning, it's handy because it's done. It's out of the way. You feel good after it, so it puts you in good form for the day. You've dealt with a bit of stress. You're generally a bit more relaxed afterwards. Metabolically, you're kind of you're primed for the day, if that makes sense. And you'll sleep better in the evening. Exercise in the evening can be challenged from that perspective, that you're just kind of wired before bed after a run. Yeah. So getting it done early is handy. Lunchtime classes are brilliant if possible. If that person's workplace has classes around lunchtime, very handy. But yeah, it's a common thing, right? You have to build around what you really think you can do and set yourself up to succeed. If you're not a morning person and you try and do it on your own, that's not going to happen. So you might surround yourself with a group of people. That makes it easier.
Mm.
Or you set up for success as much as you possibly can. All right. And if you know you're going to be knackered after work and yet you try and do the 5K run after work, it just isn't going to happen. Again, you're setting yourself up into that cycle of kind of failing at a task, feeling bad about it, and kind of steamrolling that. So I would be, for that person, look into a diary. When can you exercise that you actually know you're going to get it done? And that could be the weekend. That could be Saturday and Sunday. That's okay. Like we all go through phases like that. You just got to build it around what you think will actually work and be honest with yourself that, this is actually going to work, as opposed to like what most people do, which is they do things that are never going to work. Like if you look around in the industry, 1,200 calories are back in fashion, and you're like, who eats 1,200 calories? And I won't mention any names or any brands, but there are certain brands out there who are pushing 1,200 calorie diets and an hour movement each day, and it's bonkers. Yeah. It's never going to work. In the long term, it just doesn't work. And there's loads of that now. So like that's back in fashion. Keto's back in fashion, and which is great if you like it. If you don't, it's not, because it's scary for people. So you have to build around what you like, and not what is in fashion. That's important.
Right.
You got to build it sustainably. And that 1% rule of, can you walk to work maybe and fit movement in there? Can you walk from work? Can you eat properly over the course of the day in work and control what you can? Just try and make the little things better. And by doing that, you're more likely to succeed.
Yeah. And I'm interested as well. So if we're dealing with someone who tried the morning workout and it's like, I'm not, I know it's a big thing online, get up and like, get after it. But if they tried that and they're like, I'm actually an evening work, like a person who works out in the evening, environment design, would there be anything that you would do to make that easier? Yeah,
pick somewhere on the way home from work or on the way from between work and home is a handy one. Surround yourself with people, maybe in a class or a group of friends, and do it together. And also have the chats. Have the chats with your partner, your family, those around you, and say, look, I need someone to take the kids that evening, or I need someone to do the bedtime that evening, or I need someone to meet me in the local park on the way home that evening, whatever. So just have it stack where you can, and try and make it work for you as best as possible. And if it doesn't, look to the weekends. Yeah. Maybe do one morning during the week and 2 morning or 2 evenings or 2 afternoons at the weekends. Wherever you can get it done, get it done.
Yeah. And you're a big fan of James Clear. So one thing I find is if I sit down when I get home from work, I'm done. Done. It's not happening after that because the TV goes on. Yeah. Yeah. So is there do you just stay on your feet, or do you like as in?
If it's when you get home you struggle, it's out the door rule. You've all the gear in the hall ready to go. You come in, gone, done, and you create what a friend of mine, Neil O'Brien, always coined as the 5-second walk.
Okay.
And he's like, it's all about all you have to do is focus on the 5-second walk or the 5-second run. And I was like, how does that work now? And he's like, you go in, you focus on the first 5 seconds of it. So you got to go in and get your runners on. You got to get your tracksuit on. You have to get ready and you have to walk out the door before you start your 5-second walk. You then walk for 5 seconds. You've done all the hard work because you got ready. You're out the door. You're at the end of the driveway at that point. You're out then, and then you run.
Okay.
Very clever. It's simplifying the idea of I can't do that. Well, you can. I jumped on the treadmill yesterday because my lungs are kind of back in action now, which is great. They're beginning to open up now, and I can kind of train a little harder again. The last thing I wanted to do was run on the treadmill last night, but my times are coming down, so I really want to have a go at trying to break 25 again to get back to where I used to be, and sort of just focus on the first kilometre. Grand. I don't fancy running for 5 minutes. Okay, let's do intervals. I'll do 1 minute easy, 1 minute fast. I can run for a minute. Okay. 25 minutes later, I'm done. So we all have days like that. You just have to break it up and find a way of making it work for you, and trick the brain into what, starting. Yeah. Once you start, you're there.
Yeah, it's that takeoff, that you're using most energy when you're taking off as the plane. So you're like, I like, as in, there's no way you could comprehend 25 minutes on the treadmill. But when you say, I'll just do 1 minute.
Or even this morning, I come up last night late. I got into the hotel about 12. I met a friend of mine in UCD Pool this morning for a swim. I left the hotel at 5:15. And only if I was meeting her, I wouldn't have gone. Wouldn't have gone. Wouldn't have happened. I would have turned around and gone back to sleep because I was tired.
So you've tied it to the activity to
person.
Friend. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't want to let her down, so I went. And we had a cracking swim. You said he was jammed this morning at 6 o'clock. It was rammed. But it was tying it in with, I need someone. I don't need to, but it makes it easier when someone's there to train with. And we had a really hard session. I swam faster than I would have done because she's a really fast swimmer. So like that's the stacking bit. You stack, you see what you need and you bring it to the table and say, okay, I need that to make me go do that swim. So therefore, and I enjoy it, and it's social then afterwards as well. It's a bit of interaction. So it ticks a few wellness boxes. But it is building it around what you need.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think as well, if you go to a place where it's commonplace, the default behavior is activity. So you said you went to swim pool, bright and early, and people are there already.
I was jammed.
Okay.
And it was some serious work being put in. People were flying up and down the pool.
Which is
so
inspiring.
like it was great, right? So it's like you're like, right, okay, let's gotta prove myself here. So it's all part of it. It absolutely is. And seeing people, it's so. I grew up with it in the gym industry. My dad had a gym, and like in the 90s, like it would open at 7 o'clock, and that'd be early. Now there's people queuing at 5:45 to go into a gym. Like it's amazing how society has changed.
Yeah.
And like that, everyone's kind of tired, but that kind of group mentality of like, let me in, I want to work out like at 5:45. It's cool. It's great to see.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing in the 90s for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Our final question is, so every time I meet up with my boyfriend, he brings me treats, chocolates, sweets, you name it. Whenever we go into the city on the weekends, he's mad to go for ice cream, hot chocolates, and the like. The thing is, since we started dating, I feel I've put on a good bit of weight and now feel sluggish and uncomfortable in my clothes. He has one of those metabolisms where he can eat anything and he stays lean, but I most definitely do not. I'm embarrassed to say anything to him as it's early on. What do you think? Love the show. Thanks, Sarah.
Geez, I think we need Tara or Alison Keating for this one. This is relationship advice. Okay. There's a couple of things going on here. So, okay, this is really common first and foremost. The honeymoon phase of the relationship is where people tend to gain weight. Dare I say the weight word on air again? But
the W.
I know, but spade a spade. It is right. It tends to be because you're going in for dinner more. There's more. There's all of that, and people tend to put on weight in that phase of a relationship. It's quite common. That's a conversation to be had. I'd be sitting down and having the chats about that now.
Right.
If that's what I would do. I don't know. My poor wife is listening and thinking he's the wrong person to talk about relationship advice. But like, that's what I'd be having the chat. I'd be saying, it's obviously very important to the listener. She feels that she's gained weight as a result of it.
Yeah.
That's important to her. It's early on in the relationship, but in the same boat, if it's important, it should be a chat that's had. Say, look, I can't eat what you're eating because I'm gaining weight as a result of it, and that is an issue. That is a challenge. It's a team effort. That relationships are a team effort when it comes to health and wellness. It's very difficult to say, I'm going to be really healthy, and he's in the corner having his popcorn and his bag of sweets and his whatever else.
Yeah,
like it's hard. So it's kind of it's an open conversation, and I think it's a really good question because I think we steer away from those chats.
Yeah,
as couples, as Irish couples, I think we steer away from the weight chat or let's do this together.
Right.
Let's get healthier together. Let's work at it. It's a team. It's not one. It's a team effort, and that's really important. And I think that person has to have the chat.
Yeah, and I mean
around it.
It's not in Irish culture. I don't think the direct chat. We're sometimes indirect in Ireland. I think that you have some advice. Typically, is don't do it at home, maybe, or
Yeah, I do. So go out for a stroll in the city the next time you're in the city, having the Starbucks and have the chat.
Yeah.
Be on the way to the Starbucks. Having that at home, I think, is always a challenge. You're better off doing it, having that conversation out somewhere. But I think it is a conversation to be had. Then it's a matter of changing the pattern of behavior, changing the habit, again, together, not as an individual. And it's something that's important to you. You should be able to have that chat.
Yeah. And say, for example, Sarah has a situation in which, she's had the chat with her boyfriend and he's on board. Of course he would be. And do they replace it with a healthy habit, or do they obviously you don't want to, do away with treats altogether.
Balance, 80-20, right? So it's about balancing it out. It's having the takeaway, but have one. or it's having some sweets but have like a handful as opposed to like the sharing bag. You know, like it's not like all or nothing's no crack. It doesn't work. And it's too drastic a shift anyway. So like you want to go to 80-20 balance approach, one meal out or one treat or whatever, and that's important. And just as a team, I think it's an important relationship thing for people, and it's very common.
Yeah, and I think as well, if she shares these fears and these concerns with her boyfriend, that the likely outcome is that he's going to be on board with.
I think so. It's a good test for a relationship.
Yeah.
If they have that chat and the partner walks away, fine. Better find it out now. But it is something that we see time and time again. Like you look at pre-wedding and post-wedding. It's another example of that. Pre-wedding, people are very focused. Couples are very focused. They train really hard. They'll do everything. And then they go on honeymoon and it's a free-for-all. And then they struggle to get back on the wagon afterwards. So, but it's that all or nothing thing we try and get away from. So it is balance. That's important. It is doing it together. That's important. Accountability is handy if the person is struggling, whether it's with an accountability PT or coach or friend, or accountability with partners tends not to work. It needs to be someone outside the relationship.
Okay, why is that?
Just some experience. Yeah, people come into me all the time, and we do a lot of accountability work like that, just by WhatsApp food diaries, and it's great. But people always say I couldn't tell that to my husband or my wife.
Okay, fair.
It's really quirky, but like I can understand it though too. It's it's like when we get the emails and will you train my husband or my wife? I'm like, well, they have to ask them.
Yeah.
Pass on my details. They have to make the phone call. That's important.
It can't be, going from,
it's nice
I recommended someone.
Send it somebody else and let someone come in and give you a plan or what, it's handier. But 80-20 is important. Do it as a team is important. Be having an open chat and conversation about it is important, because it's important to the listener who sent it in. So it's important to you. It's important to talk about.
Perfect. Carl, that's our lot. Thank you very much.
Folks, as ever, that is another episode of Real Health with me, Karl Henry. Keep sending the questions in on Instagram at Karl Henry PT. We pick the really popular ones and we bring them into the studio every now and again. And we have some chats and we discuss them when we shoot the breeze. You know where we are, at Karl Henry PT on Instagram, realhealth@independent.ie, and on the Irish Independent website. And we'll see you next week for more Real Health. So long, go.